Welcome to Bethlahem Institute of Engineering. Bethlahem Institute of Engineering is affiliated to Anna University, Chennai and approved by AICTE, New Delhi. This institution was established in the year 2008.
A very good morning. Myself, I am Jegan, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Bethlahem Institute of Engineering. Today we will be dealing about the lecture 2 class regarding the criteria for selection of stones and the test of the stones. Previously we have seen about the origin of the stones and the various types of rocks. So in this section, in this lecture 2 class, we will be dealing about the criteria for selection of stones and the various types of tests on stones. So we can see the previous class topics. We have seen about the stone as a building material, stone, the application of stones, the classification of stones and the quarrying of the building stones. So what are the various criteria for selection of the stones? As I already told in the previous lecture class, stones are unique in nature in such a way throughout the world. The God has created in such a way. There are various types of stones, so which are different in different properties, physical properties, mechanical properties, and other mineral properties. Hence, it's a duty of every engineer to find out the best stone for the construction work for the various purpose. So, when you select a stone, there are various criteria for selection of stones. You can stones for masonry, you can find out the stone for pavement and stone for flooring. So each will be having for different purpose. The masonry stones will be having only for the masonry purpose, and the pavement stones only for the pavement structures, and the flooring stones for flooring purpose, and the stone for facing works in building for the cladding purpose, and stone for concrete aggregates. Hence, the stones are mainly, the stone should be selected according to the applications. So you can see the criteria for selection of stones. One of the basic criteria is the crushing strength. We have chosen the stones for building material because it's a God-given gift in such a way. The material is highly density, it's having high strength, it's having good impervious properties. So the crushing strength will be the major criteria for the selection of the stones. You can see already we have seen about the classification of stones based on the origin, igneous rocks, sediment rocks and metamorphic rocks. So each will be having their own strength properties. In here we can find out the igneous rocks, examples granite, basalt, trap. You can see find out the granite which is having an 80 to 150 Newton per mm square. The basalt will be 150 to 200 Newton per mm square. The trap stone will be about 300 to 350 Newton per mm square. So in India, we will be mostly will be finding out our resource is mainly the granite and other limestone, other materials. So there are places like trap and basalt where you can extract this type of rocks. So they will be having a high compressive strength, high crushing strength. Second comes the metamorphic rocks. You can find out gneiss will be having about 200 to 350 Newton per mm square, and the slate will be 75 to 200 Newton per mm square. The slate is one of the metamorphic rocks which is available in Andhra, in Kadapa stones and other things. So it will be having a crushing strength of 75 to 200 Newton per mm square. And the third one, the sediment rocks, the most widely found out limestone. The strength is very less. Hence it is used for the limestone stones. Example marble, which are used for flooring purpose, will be having an crushing strength of 50 to 60 Newton per mm square. The sandstone, which is found out in places like Kerala and coastal Karnataka place, laterite stones, will be having a crushing strength of 50 to 70 Newton per mm square. So second comes density. So first we have seen about the crushing strength. It's one of the important factors for selection of the stones. Second comes density. So density is nothing but it's the ratio between unit weight of solid divided by unit weight of water. So specific gravity should be always should be greater than 2.7. And if you see the fractures through microscope, the stone should be well cemented and sharp. And next, the impact resistance, the test value is 19 is good and less than 13 is bad. So hence the impact, can find out the impact strength of the stones by impact estimation. And the fifth one, the resistance to wear and tear. We can use Dowell's apparatus. So you can find out the resistance to wear and tear. The value should be less than 3 is good. The texture, what is called the texture? Texture is nothing but the surface, whether it's smooth or rough or anything else. So the texture should be compact in such a way it should be free from cracks. It should be free from depressions or things. So the texture should be free from cracks and the water absorption should be less than 6%. So the density of any material depends on the impervious nature of the material. So if a material allows too much of water to absorb, certainly it will be having a poor density value. So you can find out the stones on the important character of stone is very compact, it is highly impervious, and the water absorption percent is always less than 6%. If it's found out to more than 6%, then there will be, you can assume that there is a huge cracks or fracture or something else, hence it should be rejected. And the 8 points weathering. So weathering is nothing but when it's exposed to air, water, and other things, the material should be durable in such a way. It should not get torn, it should not get wear and tear, it should not get disintegrated. Weathering can be done by will be happening by means of the external means like wind, air, water, right, and other physical matters. So you can find out why we are choosing the stones for construction material in such a way it is exposed to atmosphere, it's exposed to weathering, but it will be very durable. So one of the important criteria for a selection of the stones is it should be resistant to weathering. And next comes the appearance and color. Color it depends on, for example, if you are going for the flooring or cladding work, you'll be having different types of colors of stones. You can find out in igneous rock itself, you'll be finding different colors, will be very attractive. So appearance should be pleasing appearance, and the weight should be more, and the porosity and absorption should be less, and the fineness of grains should be very fine, and it should be compact. Next, it should be resistance to wear. It should have a high electrical resistance. It should be hardness, sufficient hardness and toughness. It should be high durability. It can be easily dressed in such a way by using the chisel or some cutting equipments. Cost. The cost is an important factor for construction materials since it's available in nature. With respect to other construction materials, stones are very cheap. So it's one of the important factor. Sex, and that 20th point is seasoning. It should be seasoned. So next we'll be seeing about test on stones. First we'll be seeing about the field test. In the field test you can do the absorption test, Smith test, toughness test, acid test, and the crystallization test. So in the laboratory you can find out the various types of tests like attrition test, crushing test, freezing and thawing test, hardness test, and impact test. So these are the various microscopic tests. Some will be electrical resistance test. So these are the various types of fire resistance tests to be conducted on stones in laboratory. So first we will be seeing about the water absorption test. It's nothing but a sample of rock about 50 gram is kept in distilled water for 24 hours, and after 24 hours just wipe it out and just take the weight. If you find the weight percentage of increase in percentage of more than 6%, it should be rejected. It should not exceed the 6%. So this is the procedure for doing this. So other material is to find out the percent of impurities. If you want to find out the impurities present on stones, just take a freshly quarried stone chippings the size of a rupee coin and put them in a clean water and fill it with one third of full of water in a jar, and you can just mix it. If you see a slightly cloudy, if the color of the water changes to dirty, it indicates the too much of earthy and mineralous materials. So this is called the Smith test. The Smith test is to find out the presence of the impurities and other organic materials in the stones. Then the third comes the toughness test. The test is performed by breaking the stones with hammer. So toughness is indicated by the resistance to hammering. So toughness is different from crushing test. And third one is acid test. Acid test is nothing but the stone should be resistant to acid, since today the air, water is highly polluted. You can find out the natural air itself is highly polluted by means of various types of acid gases, which are many. You'll be finding out very types of acid presence when it react with water. When it react with rainwater, it may come in contact with the stones. So the stone should be highly durable in such a way it should not be able to weather. It should not start weathering. It should not start disintegration. It should not turn its color change. It should be compact. It should not absorb more water. So these are the very important factors, the stones. Hence the acid test should be done. There are many places, even the underwater, can find out. Since the concrete is used for pile foundations, other things, the concrete, one of the main ingredients is the aggregate stones. So naturally it will be exposed to underwater, salty waters and other acids. So it should be it should be very durable. Hence the acid test is most widely done. In here you can find out the sample of stone weighing about 50 to 100 gram is taken, and it's placed in a solution of hydrochloric acid for 7 days. So a sample of stones weighing about 500 to 100 gram is taken, and it should be immersed in a water in a solution of HCl for 7 days. The solution is agitated at intervals. So in the 7 days you should agitate the water so that any reaction can be happening. A good building stone maintains sharp edges and keep the surface free from powder at the end of the period. So once after 7 days, if you are able to rub the surface and find out if if the edges are sharp, same as previously before 7 days, and its surface are free from any salty powders, it indicates the stone has withstood that acid test. But if the edges are broken and powder is found on the surface, it indicates the presence of calcium carbonate, and such stone will have a poor weathering quality. Hence, it should not be considered for construction. And next comes the crystallization test. A sample of stone is immersed in the solution of sodium sulfate at room temperature and dried in a oven. The process of wetting and drying is carried for 2 hours. So what is called the process of wetting and drying is nothing but keeping in water, keeping in a solution of sodium sulfate, again taking it out and keeping for dry, and again immersing in water, immersing in the solution of sodium sulfate and keeping it dry. And so it's a cyclic process in such a way it should be done for 2 hours. And after that, find out the weight. If there is a weight is difference, the little difference in weight indicate durability and good weathering quality of the stone. But if there is a major weight difference, this indicate the poor quality. It has failed the crystallization test. So next test is the attrition testing on stone. This test is done to find out the rate of wear and tear of the stones which are used in construction and road construction and ballast, like railway track ballast. So any material which is used for road construction and which is used for track railway track ballast purpose, it should be tested for attrition test, because it will be exposed to friction. A huge amount of stones will be placed in the before the rail can find out. So it will be exposed to continuous abrasion and will be exposed to attrition. So the material should be highly resistant to wear and tear. So this can be done by using this apparatus. It's called the devil's apparatus. The result of the test indicate, so this is nothing but putting the stones in a roller type cylinder, and it will be inside there will be number of steel balls and will be rotated for 1000 revolution. And after the revolution, if you take the found out, take it outside and sieve it in 2.36 mm sieve, and all debris and broken material should be separated. And if you take the weight, there should not be much considerable weight loss. If too much of materials as wear and tear happen, broken by means of friction between the materials, then it indicates the poor attrition value of the stone. Next comes the freezing and thawing. Freezing is nothing but automatically indicates the ice, right? So freezing and thawing is nothing but taking a sample of stones and putting in a mixture of ice cubes, and it should be again taking it outside and keeping it dry, and again putting in the freezing mixture, and it's repeated at least 7 times. You can see this a specimen of stone is kept immersed in water for 24 hours. Then it is freezed at minus 12 degree for 24 hours. It is then thawed or warmed to atmospheric temperature and repeated at least 7 times. The specimen is kept inside water. Next comes the microscopic test. In this test, the sample of stone is subjected to microscopic examination because the stones is very compact. By the means of visual eyes, it's very difficult to find out the minute fractures or minerals compositions, right? Hence, it should be tested on microscope. If you test it by seeing through microscope, you can find out what are the mineral constituents present, what are the average grain size, what are the texture of the stone, what is the type texture of stones, and presence of any harmful substance. So today we have covered about the different types of test on stone: absorption test, Smith test is nothing to find out the impurities of the stone, and the absorption test to find out the water absorption capacity. It should be less than 6%. And the third one, you can find out the toughness test by either you can use it an impact test or by using hammer. And the fourth one by using the acid test, which is done by HCl acid solution to find out whether the stone is of acid resistance. And fifth one, the crystallization test is nothing but to find out the presence of any salts present in stones. So this test is done by means of calcium sulfate solution. So these are the various types of tests we have seen today. Hope you can get a glimpse and understanding of this from this lecture. Thank you.